So I was climbing the corporate ladder for like, I don't know, 6, 7 years. And in tech, I wanted to become an art director. And so my whole focus was I need to become an art director. I need to do this because this is a stable job and it's going to give me everything that I need. So turns out those are just all lies. Those are all lies and fairy tales because as I became a visual designer and then was promoted to art director at Prime Video, the pandemic hit. And so I launched Prime Video in Mexico, and that was a great success. But now we were gearing up to launch in Brazil, and the whole international team was just let go like that. And so then I started realizing that I was wrapping up my identity with something that wasn't even my dream. It was my parents' dream.
I literally got chills all over my body as soon as you said that. Damn. That is so good. Welcome to the Chingona Revolution podcast, where we will bring out your inner badass Latina, overcome self-doubt, help you gain clarity, and pave your own path, all while leading with courage. I am your host, Latina coach and speaker, Erica Cruz. Hello. Welcome back to this week's episode of Chingona Revolution podcast. This is your host, Erica Cruz, and today I am joined by a guest who is super talented, super creative, is an artist, is all about giving back to the community, and I had the honor of meeting this individual at a conference that I spoke at, and we had a very meaningful conversation one of the days towards the end of the conference. And I'm just so proud of everything that she's accomplished. And this person is Lucia Diaz, who is on a mission to make sure that every Latina sees themselves in art, in history, and in every room that matters. She is actually a published illustrator and co-author of Viva Latina, which is a beautiful collaboration with Sandra Velasquez, who's the powerhouse behind Nopalera. And her life sketching talents have brought cultura and elegance to events hosted by iconic brands like DIOR, Tiffany Co, Chanel, Armani, and so much more. Lucia has also shared her story on stages for Target, American Express, Latinas in Tech, and We All Grow Latina. But let's keep it real. Growing up, the only Latina that Lucia saw in her history books was Sonia Sotomayor. So today, she is rewriting the narrative, one sketch, one workshop, one niña at a time, because every young girl deserves to see herself as the main character, and that's exactly what Lucia is doing. All right, let's get into this interview because it is a good one. Lucia, welcome to Chingona Revolution podcast. How are you?
First of all, I'm so honored to be here, Erica. I listen to this podcast, and it's like a dream come true to be on it, actually. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh my gosh, it is an honor to have you here. We're going to get into all of these details as well throughout the interview. But actually, before I jump in there, for the people who don't know who you are yet, can you tell us what you do, who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Lucia Diaz, and I'm a live illustrator. I work with big brands like DIOR, Tiffany Co, Armani to do live brand activation. So basically I sit in these boutiques and I sketch clients, and it's a dream come true. It's something that I've been working towards for the last 4 years, and it's been just fantastic to be able to do what I love to do, and on top of that be a published illustrator. So I'm just so grateful to be here.
Yes, so I remember when we met in Puerto Rico years ago. It must have been at least 3 years ago at this point. Yeah. And you and I talked, we had a little conversation, and we can talk about that. But I remember you came to me and you seemed like you were just so lost. And then a few months later, I see this American Express commercial with your face on it, and then DIOR and all of and I was like, what the hell? In the most beautiful way, right? And I think sometimes we don't recognize how far we actually are until we really look back. So And I think that's so funny because, yeah, I remember just seeing your face and I was like, American Express. I was like, go, Lucia. I was so excited for you. We can talk about our meeting in Puerto Rico in a second, but you actually illustrated these for those of you who are watching the YouTube version or the video version. I'm showing a illustration that Lucia did of me. She gave it to all of the speakers that were in Puerto Rico. We were there for Janice Torres's event, Our Money, Our Power. And for all of the speakers, you got us that beautiful gift. And I remember I brought it back home and my mom was like, whoa, everybody was so blown away by the image. And we have it up in our living room. So I'm always reminded of you and your work. And I feel so honored to have an illustration from you. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Erica. Oh, that was that whole conference completely changed my life. Because like you said, coming into it, I was doing too much. I was not focused on the one thing that I'm good at, which is drawing, which is illustrating. And for me, illustrating Latinas is so important because growing up, I didn't see that many of us in history books or in media. And it felt like, you know, there's more than just the judge Sonia Sotomayor, right? Like there's so many more women in history that were able to do big things, and why aren't these portraits being recorded? So my big focus is to make sure that Latinas feel celebrated and seen. And so I was so honored when Janice asked me to do the portraits for the speakers. I was like, yeah, of course. Like it was something that you need to know that you deserve to be celebrated. You deserve to be captured in that way. So you could remember for the rest of your life, like how powerful you are, like how powerful you were getting onto that stage, and how much you inspired your whole audience, how much you inspired me with your story. And so I think it's really important for people to step back and start to look at like, what is it that they were born to do, and not try to do everything, like not try to do all the things just because fulana de tal is doing, a podcast, or fulana de tal is doing a store and selling products or courses. Like, do what's best for you, do what works for you, and work on the highest ROI item. Like, don't try to do all the things at once. So I think you giving me that advice, and you really like sitting me down and saying, look, you have a lot going on, but is it what you want to do? It was so eye-opening because I was ready to basically launch greeting cards with a mass retail company, and thank God I didn't, because what's been happening in the last couple of months with just retail and DEI, I'm just happy that I just focused on just the illustrations and focused on working with brands one-on-one instead of trying to develop a product, because the product is making the client feel excited and happy to receive a portrait of themselves. So thank you for sharing that and showing me. I will never forget. Yours was one of my favorite portraits because of your curly hair.
Oh.
And it was just like noodling in there. I was like, yeah, gotta get these curls right.
I think you did the curls justice. You did beautiful work. So, I mean, we kind of jumped right into it, but I want to know, you told me, or I kind of already know your story, right? But you mentioned that you were working at Amazon, and tell me what happened with Amazon.
So I was climbing the corporate ladder for like, I don't know, 6, 7 years. And in tech, I wanted to become an art director. And so my whole focus was, I need to become an art director. I need to do this because this is a stable job and it's going to give me everything that I need. So turns out those are just all lies. Those are all lies and fairy tales, because as I became a visual designer and then was promoted to art director at Prime Video, the pandemic hit. And so I launched Prime Video in Mexico, and that was a great success. But now we were gearing up to launch in Brazil, and the whole international team was just like, oh, like that. And so then I started realizing that I was wrapping up my identity with something that wasn't even my dream. It was my parents' dream.
Oh, I literally got chills all over my body as soon as you said that. Damn. That is so good.
because like honestly, my mom and my dad were super happy to tell everybody, "Oh, meet Amy, how she works at Amazon. She's an art director." But I was miserable. I hated it. It was everybody around me was so depressed, sad, and just like overworked and burnt out. And when you're creative in a tech industry, like they want to they want to figure out how to like automate what you do. And as an
Oh,
artist, as a creative, like you can't automate creativity. Like even though AI is out there and trying to do it, it's there's something about being an artist like that is very special to your creation, to your soul. And I think being at Amazon, getting laid off, that was like the biggest wake up call for me because I wasn't born to be that. I wasn't born to be an art director. I wasn't born to stay small. I wasn't born to be a little cog in a big machine that, currently to me is a company that doesn't really even see that Latinos exist. So at the end of the day, I'm so grateful that I did go through that experience, that I did go and kind of risk myself in going into a company like that. But I found out who I was, and I
yeah.
was an illustrator. And so every day after work, the 2 or 3 hours before I slept, I would draw. I would just sketch. I would whatever inspired me, anything from like Selena or like whoever I was listening to, Bad Bunny at the time. I would just sketch portraits of them and just start posting on Instagram. And then people just started reaching out to me like for commission portraits. And then I realized like maybe I could do a business out of this. Maybe just maybe I could do something. Um and just having such a supportive partner, my husband, Jonathan Diaz, like he was literally like, okay, Seattle was not for us. Like, let's just move to Maryland and you figure out your business. Don't rush into trying to get another job right now. Just focus on doing you and don't worry about, bringing in another paycheck. Just focus on doing what you got to do. And we were in such a good position because I saved like a year's worth of my paycheck because around like December, I went to Bali with my husband before COVID, and we started seeing people were getting sick over there, and we realized, oh, that's gonna come to the U.S. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, and so I just started saving every single paycheck, and then we just lived off his paycheck for a while and see if we could kind of reduce expenses, cut everything, cut all the fat, unsubscribe for everything, and
Hmm.
just really, really focus on building that emergency fund. So when I did get laid off and I did get severance, I was able to, take that and just slowly build my business. But then I started going in too many different directions.
I mean, I think that's part of you as a creative though, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into that in a second. So I people fear being laid off so much, and it makes sense because at some level it's a form of rejection. It's a form of quote unquote failure, right?
Mm-hmm.
But do you think you would have left that job if you weren't let go?
No, I would
And
have
now are
kept.
you grateful that you were let go?
Yes, so much. So hell yes. Like I can't believe how many talented, incredible human beings are working in these corporations thinking that they're not enough, thinking that they have to, work until, 2 in the morning to get the latest campaign out. Like you don't have to kill yourself for your worth. Like you are worthy already of being successful and chasing what you want to chase. To me, I thought that having this safe job was going to help me buy a house and do all those things in society, have kids and all this stuff. And then I realized like that dream is my parents' dream. Like I don't need to
Ooh.
do this because I'm not like them. Like I am a creative. Luckily my mom was really supportive of this. And I've had people on my dad's side not be as supportive, but it's okay. Like there's some people that are gonna be there and gonna cheer for you, and then others they're just gonna be the reason why, the fuel that you do what you do.
Yeah, exactly. And now, I mean, you probably, when you were at Amazon, You probably didn't even imagine, oh yeah, I'm going to illustrate for iconic brands like Dior and Tiffany and Chanel, right? Like,
No, never. I had zero expectations that I would do something like this. And I honestly felt so blessed that I had this push, because I know a lot of creatives that stay stuck in these safe jobs thinking that they're going to get paid and always going to have a security, but you don't. The only way you can form security is creating it yourself.
oh, that was so good. So many gems. I'm already thinking about all the little quote posts we're going to do from this interview. Oh, and this has led you to beautiful connections, working with brands, not just these big brands, but also, working with Janice, working with We All Grow, working with other Latina communities. And now you also have published your first book, which is so exciting. And this is a collaboration with the founder of Nopalera. And she's also just such a great leader in the community as well. And your illustrations help this book come to life. So my question is, like, what was that experience like? And what do you hope that the readers, especially Latinas, take away from this book?
Well, Viva Latina is my first published illustration book.
It's beautiful.
It's a collection of incredible stories from really badass, wise women, Latinas, that have gone through very similar experiences to get to where they're at. And to me, like, when I had Sandra Velasquez from Nopalera knock on my door and is like, hey, I need an illustrator for my book, I'm like, are you kidding me? Me? Like, I'm gonna be your illustrator? And she was just one of the best mentors I could ever ask for. And so I wanted to make sure I captured each and every single one of these incredible women in a way where I was kind of like a detective, and I would stalk their Instagrams, I would watch the videos of them. And I did the same thing for you when I illustrated your portrait, because I really want these women to feel proud to be in this book and to, understand that they're part of history and they have been published, and this is a story that they're gonna be able to share with not only their family, but future generations are going to be able to read these quotes. And I'm actually in the book as well. I don't have an illustration of myself, but my little passage is called Familia, and it's an homage to my mom, because when we were younger, my mom used to make arepas, and she was very much always a champion of my art. She would flip more arepas in order for me to be able to buy a little more art supplies.
Oh, I love it.
And so she's always been super proud of me. And obviously, my grandmother, Lucia, she never had the opportunity to chase her dreams. Like, she wanted to be a teacher. My mom wanted to be a fashion designer. And so to be able to take the stories from my family and be able to publish them in a book is so wild to me. Like, I still, like, when I look at it, I'm like, it's not real. It's like a figment of my imagination. But I'm just really proud that Sandra picked me. And it's funny because when I saw Sandra for the first time on Shark Tank, I turned to my husband and I'm like, I am gonna meet this woman. I'm gonna reach out to her. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I'm gonna collaborate with her somehow, some way. And luckily, we were both in an accelerator program for a mass retail company, and they hooked us up together. Tahaji, she is one of the program managers that saw how much representation meant to me.
Yeah.
And when she told me that Sandra Velasquez was going to be my mentor, and I got to like chat with her for 4 sessions, like, it just was mind-blowing, because she really, helped me, further clarify the direction of what I want to do. And being able to collaborate with somebody like Sandra that is out there creating a brand for Latinas, based on her heritage, is absolutely beautiful. So again, I'm very lucky that I was able to collaborate with her, and many of the women in the book as well are friends of mine, people that I've followed as well, or have been following their journeys from far. And so to be able to illustrate some of my favorite people is just, it's crazy. It's so beautiful to be able to do that. So Literally a dream project.
That's beautiful. And it's only the beginning, too. You're just getting started. So this is very aligned with what we just talked about. So I'll ask this next question that I had written down. There's so many girls and women that are growing up and they still aren't seeing themselves reflected in art, media, or leadership. And I feel like you're doing a phenomenal job of changing that. But what would you say to a fellow Latina creative who's feeling imposter syndrome right now? And I think the first answer is get this book. But what else would you say?
I'd say just keep illustrating and, start to figure out what is it that you love to do and what is it that society or the world needs right now. And try to kind of hyper focus on your vision, not what your parents want, not what society wants, but really what is it that you love to do. And create sample projects. Like as an artist, like you could create a whole portfolio of different artwork. Why did Sandra pick me? Because she saw I could draw portraits. How did she see that? She saw the work that I did for Janice. She saw the work that I have done for brands. And so when you start to develop your portfolio, for example, like I remember when I first approached a brand at a very fancy mall in Miami called Bal Harbor. I brought my business card and I brought a prototype of my work, like a little card showing them, hey, I know Mother's Day is coming up. Here's an example of what I could do for you. So if you are an artist, if you're creative and you dream about working with a specific brand, start to look at what this brand needs. Like, what is it that you could do to serve them? I know a lot of artists sometimes just focus on what they want to draw only, but you have to treat, especially if you're creative, you have to treat it as a business. And you have to make sure that whenever you do start to work as a creative, you file as an LLC and, save some of that money that you get for taxes, because those things are super important in order for you to grow and continue to flourish. Also, don't share this vision of what you want to do with everybody. Only share it with the people that really love you and care and see that you are capable of this, because many people are going to tell you that you're going to starve to death, that you're not going to make it, that, because they have limitations on themselves and they're going to project those to you. So I had to, prove myself right versus trying to prove them wrong, because at the end of the day, you don't want to surround yourself with people that are going to try to drag you down or keep you down. So being able to show, for example, being able to show a brand where you're capable of, you can also even illustrate yourself, illustrate using a video, like bringing either your iPhone or any single device, a little contraption like one of those goosenecks, and showing people how you draw live as well. Like there's so many ways of approaching it, and you could do so many things as an artist. Like you don't have to just do portraits. You could be a pattern maker. You can license your work to bigger brands. You don't have to do production all on your own. Like I wanted to explore that kind of like greeting card side, but then I realized that is just a lot of work for one person. And in order to scale, you're going to need to have a team and all of these things. So I decided not to kind of go down that route anymore and just really focus on just my illustrations. So like I said, if you are feeling imposter syndrome or if you feel like you can't do it, just know that this takes time. Like art in your portfolio, in your style takes time. I didn't wake up one day and just become a fabulous illustrator. This is like a lifelong journey of trying to get here.
Yeah, I love what you've described. I have a concept in my programs. It's called the magnetic method, and it's all about how you're in charge of building your own influence and you can do it in so many ways. So it wasn't like you waited for these brands. You didn't wait for Chanel or Tiffany or Dior or We All Grow to come knock on your door and be like, hey, we heard you're a great artist. Like, come and do some stuff for us. No, you were already showing up online, right? Like there's a reason Janice even knew what you did. So with this whole concept of the magnetic method, it's that you have to decide who you are and then show up as that person. And then people will see you as that, right? So rather than waiting for an outside person to validate you, you have to validate yourself, and then other people will see you that way. And I feel like what you just shared is a perfect example of that. You mentioned, right, you were already drawing portraits, you were sharing them. How else would people have known? They don't know if you're living under a rock. They don't know what you're up to. And I think a lot of people delay their dreams waiting for somebody outside of them to come and be like, do it. And, you know, maybe we all have a supportive partner or community like your mom and your husband, but that's not always the case. And you still have to bet on yourself.
100%. And just to add to that, I think a lot of artists, a lot of creatives have these daydreams like, oh, this is gonna happen to me once I do X, Y, and Z. Don't worry about a website. Don't worry about a logo. Worry about a body of work like that you could show, that you can literally show them your Instagram. Like, you don't necessarily have to have all the pieces together. Actually, I prefer that you don't do a website yet, because then you're going to have to redo that website once you start learning
exactly
what clients need. So, I mean, doesn't matter how much you pay for it, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to redo it anyway. So I say focus on the things that you can control and do one thing at a time. You know, don't think you have to have all the pieces ready to go. I'm a Virgo. So I'm telling you, as a recovering perfectionist, that you do not have to have everything set, you know, in order to approach a brand or approach a project. And you have to constantly do outreach. Like, every week, I send out at least 50 proposals to different brands. I hear no, I would say 98% of the time. You know, 2% of those are yeses. Mm-hmm. So imagine if you just like send out a proposal or talk to somebody and they're like, oh, we don't have the budget right now. But then you continue to kind of speak to them. Maybe a couple of months down the line, you send them another like idea or another proposal. They're like, oh, it's perfect timing. Actually, we're going to do a holiday activation and we're going to need you to do X, Y, and Z. So do not wait for somebody to give you permission. I'm giving you permission right now to go do what you need to do. And I love that you talk about your program, Erica, when it comes to that magnetic, you know, being able to kind of attract things to yourself, because a lot of us, you know, come from households, at least for me, I grew up very low income. I didn't see that much luxury, that much wealth. And so even to me, just like being able to sketch at some of these places still feels like a little out of body to me sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, you know, we have an opportunity. We're the first in our lineage to have the opportunity to go out and chase our dreams and do what we want to do. Like, our parents, our mothers, our grandmothers and great grandmothers, society already had a plan for them. Yep. So now we have the opportunity to go out and do what we want to do in order to make these dreams come into fruition. But they're not going to happen if you're just sitting there. So find mentors like Erica, you know, because if you need that push, if you need a little shove, then you have programs like hers that are going to help you get to where you want to go. Just speaking to you in Puerto Rico for like 5 minutes gave me like all the clarity I need. Like, I just needed to go to Puerto Rico to talk to you, Erica. So
I remember you were like, wait, can I record this? And you did a voice recording of it. And I was like, sure. And I actually remember the greeting cards. I remember we briefly talked about greeting cards, and I don't even remember exactly what I said to you, but I remember how I felt. And I remember how I felt that you were just like this talented artist. And at that time, we didn't even have the portraits yet, but I knew you had done the mock-ups of them because they were up on the screen, right? And they were, Janice had used them in some graphics. So I had already seen them. I hadn't seen the physical one yet, but I remember just like looking at you and or talking to you and looking into your eyes and being like, damn, like, you are this talented ass person and you have so many options, but what do you want to do? Yeah. And I don't remember the details of the conversation, but I remember the feeling. And then again, next thing I know, you're on the American Express commercial. So tell us about that. Okay. How did it feel to be this visible face of Latina entrepreneurship for like a major campaign for a major brand.
That was another dream come true. I've been using American Express for my business since like the beginning. I couldn't get a loan from the bank because I didn't have enough history or enough or whatever they want to call it, you know? So I was able to get an American Express card, and I just started by buying my printer and buying paper, buying ink, getting my iPad, and slowly but surely just building up my business with American Express. I became of I basically had this fellowship with American Express through Luminary, which is a co-working space in New York City, and it was so fabulous to be able to talk to that team. And I talked to them about, I went up to the representatives whenever they came and talked to us at Luminary, and also was invited to an amazing conference called Latitude in Miami, which I think you went to. I think I saw you.
Yes.
I
I moderated a panel for the
That's
Latitude
right.
Venture side.
That's
Yes.
perfect. Yeah. So I was there as a business owner, and then again I meet again more American Express representatives, and I talk to them about my experience with Business Blueprint. I talk to them about my experience with my credit cards. I literally tell them play by play exactly how my business has grown with American Express. And they're like, hey, I would like to present you to our media team. They want to, like, jump on Zoom with you and talk to you. I was like, great, awesome. Again, I am putting myself out there.
Yep.
I am making sure that they understand that I am a consumer, I am a customer of theirs, and I have a great testimonial to give. So I thought myself, oh, they're probably just gonna put this on a website, like a little like quote, and that's it, right? I think 6 months after that, they reached out and they said, hey, we're interested in having you be part of how you made it with American Express, and we want to send a whole team to your apartment to record you and talk about your story. I was like, "Get."
Oh, I love it.
I was floored. I was like, yes, absolutely, you can come. And so Joel, he's such a sweetheart, he was like the one person that kept introducing me to the different American Express, and also Greg, and Dina. They like, just a whole team just loved the way I spoke about my business and about who I am, about just the inspiration of my brand, which is Lucia Diaz, is actually an homage to my grandmother. She, like I said before, she didn't have the opportunity to chase her dreams. So this is the vision that I have for her. I want her name to be famous all over the world, because, I am so fortunate and I am able to be who I am because of her sacrifices. And same with my mother. And just being able to be surrounded by a whole team of creatives from American Express in my apartment, which is tiny, by the way. It's like a 2-bedroom apartment. We had like 20 people show up.
Oh my gosh. A whole commercial production.
And my husband, such a sweetheart, he was ready. He was like, how can I help? Like, what can I do? Like, can I be? He would just bounce around with all the teams, from like, the people that help set up, the camera guy, the creative director. He would offer water. He would be like, I'm gonna go back here, help the makeup artist, like, organize the stuff. And so he was just floored. And I don't know, it was just like, it's just really beautiful to be able to be myself and authentically, and understand that, like, my story is worth it. Who I am, the person that I am, and this business that I built is successful because of just that story, and my tenacity of, no matter how many people say no, continue to reach out and continue to partner. So I think one of the clips from the commercial, I wanted to talk about how, when I had how I made it, like, what moment was it where I felt like I made it. for me, it's when I booked my biggest activation, which was like 20 grand. And it was with Corvell and Latinas in Tech. And I was able to give a small percentage of that. Well, not small, it was like 5 grand to a Colombian orphanage. And to me, being able to give back to my community in Colombia and South America, Medellin, was super important to me because my grandfather was an orphan. And my
Wow.
grandfather, Jose Manuel, was someone that was a leader in his community and did so much in order to give back to the neighbors around him. And as he succeeded as a farmer, as he started to see these big brands like Starbucks and Juan Valdez come and try to rip him off with the price of the coffee, like he's like, no, this is how much my coffee is worth, and this is how much you're going to pay for this region's coffee. So being able to see people like my grandfather, just, even though he was an orphan, just grow into such a leader, like I decided whenever I can, I'm going to give back to an orphanage because I have so much privilege that my family came here from Colombia and I had the opportunity to be in an American Express commercial or to be working with Tiffany and DIOR and all these big major companies. But imagine how much more successful he would have been if he even had half those opportunities. So being able to talk about that story and the legacy of my family, the legacy of my mom and my grandparents, and how much as a Latina I'm so proud to do what I do and not have to, you know, code switch or feel like I have to be somebody else in order to be successful. Like I made my own goddamn table
You
and
did.
I don't care like what other people say in society. Like I'm living my life. I'm living the truest life that I have. And I just want to be that rich auntie that can give back not only to my nephews but also to other children, especially in South America, because um the situation, I mean, everywhere is
Yeah.
crazy right now. And
Yeah.
so being able to just step back and as you succeed, be able to give back or do what you feel is right, it's just a huge blessing. So yeah, the American Express commercial was a dream come true. I had no idea that it was going to be such a big production. And since then, they've invited me to headquarters to speak for the
Amazing.
Hola organization, which is the Hispanic leaders in American Express. So Briglida, she was the one who invited me to speak for Hispanic Heritage Month last year, and being able to be there and talk to them about my story was so beautiful because they, again, other Latinas started to see that, well, if she could do it, then maybe I could pursue my own business. And I'm gonna tell you right now, start, even if you have a side hustle, even if you have a full-time job right now, you can start on the side. You don't have to do it. Don't quit cold turkey. Like, make sure that you do things at your pace. This is not a race. This is not a competition. And know that all these opportunities will come to you if you're ready to attract them.
I couldn't agree with that more. Wow. You said so many beautiful things. I'm like, which one do I want to follow up on? I just want to say that kudos to you for landing a big opportunity, but then to be able to give like a quarter of that back to the community that you care so much about, that speaks so highly of who you are as a person. And you deserve the American Express commercial and so much more. I'm not kidding, you're literally just getting started. And I'm wondering, what is next for you? What do you want to create, and how can the listeners be supportive? Like maybe if somebody out there listening to this podcast episode can help you in that next step. Tell us like what the vision is. How can I support you? How can the listeners support you? What's next for you?
So my hyper focus right now is to do as many brand activations. So if you can follow me on Instagram, Hola Lucia Diaz, that'd be amazing. Also, next time you go to a big like fancy mall in your area, take your phone, show them my Instagram, show them my illustrations, and let them know that I'm a sketching artist, a live sketching artist, and that way that any business that comes through you, I definitely want to make sure that I pay that person a commission fee in order if they find something. So if you reach out, you contact someone, for example, if there is a hiring, like a brand like manager or anybody that is like an events person within that brand,
Mm-hmm.
and you send me their contact and I book the event, I definitely will send you some commission for that. And then also just make sure to introduce my names in rooms of opportunity. Like if you know of somebody in a different industry, because I definitely want to not just do fashion, but you know, go into as many different industries, including like conventions. If anybody knows any other, speaking, when it comes to speaking opportunities, things like that, I would be much more appreciative of those. And if there's anything I could do to help my community, I'm always there. So you can follow me at Hola Lucia Diaz on Instagram and also on LinkedIn. Reach out to me if you have questions. Let me know. I definitely want to develop a series where people could like ask me anything, like a workshop, and then kind of go from there. So just want to say, Erica, thank you so much for having me.
Of
This
course.
has been such a dream come true. I could like die now because I've been on your podcast. And just thank you for all the work that you do, because you did change my life with your words. Like you literally said, focus, like this, the exact conversation was focus on the highest ROI item. Stop spreading yourself too thin, because you literally like looked at me and are like, stop spreading yourself too thin, you're doing way too much. And I was like, yes ma'am.
Well, kudos to you, right? For sometimes people ask for advice and then they don't take it, or they just kind of dismiss it. So kudos to you for listening to the advice, being discerning, like, does this actually apply to me? If it does, let me implement it, and then doing it and then hitting the ground running. So kudos to you. And all the links that you mentioned, your Instagram, we're going to link all of that down below, including your website, your email, all of that. We'll put that down below in the show notes. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to be sure that the listeners hear?
I actually want to ask you, like, how can I support you, Erica? Like, what do you have going on that we could make sure that my audience knows as well?
Oh, thank you for that question. What do I have going on? So this year, I'm really focusing a lot more on speaking engagements and getting back into content creation. But I have had a goal of either doing like affirmation cards or a journal. So I'll be in touch with you. I'll be in touch with you about how we can possibly work together. I feel like I've been resistant to a product for a long time, and I'm trying to figure out when the right time is. And of course, there's no right time, but being that I gave you the advice of focus on whatever's like working and whatever's giving you the ROI, I feel like I've been doing that. But now I'm like, okay, well, what else can I do? Like, how else can I impact people? Obviously, there's the podcast. But yeah, I'll definitely let you know.
Well, I'm just going to say, if you're listening to this podcast right now and you have not left a review for Erica, please leave a 5-star review and let us know what you liked about this episode, because those reviews are going to help boost her podcast.
Definitely.
And more Latinas are going to be able to listen to this episode if you just leave a quick 5-minute review. Like, it doesn't even take that long to write it. So, Erica, thank you so much for having me. This has been a dream come true. Thank you for all the work that you do, and you really have inspired a whole generation of Latinas to be chingonas.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. You have a lot of wisdom to share. I had a lot of questions and you were already answering things. I was like, all right, we're just going to let her go. Yeah, you did a phenomenal job. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being vulnerable, right? Sharing everything from the layoff to the challenges that you had to overcome. You have definitely impacted people's lives. So thank you. And we will be in touch.
Thank you, Erica. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me this week. Make sure to visit theericacruz.com. That's Erica with a K, where you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode. You can help this podcast grow by supporting me with an Apple Podcast rate and review. If you took anything away from this episode, I invite you to take a screenshot and share it on social media so that your favorite badass Latinas can also check it out. Be sure to tag me at the Erica Cruz. That's Erica with a K, because you know I want to see it. If you're ready to join the revolution and be a part of the Courage Driven Latina community, visit couragedrivenlatina.com to get more information and join the waitlist. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.